Hi everyone, it's Miss Sluffle. Today we're going to talk about some questions we can ask ourselves while we are reading. So we always read for a purpose. What is the reason that we're reading? Are we reading to find the character? Are we reading to retell the story? Are we reading to just enjoy it and have fun? Or are we trying to learn something from what we read? So let's go over our chart first before we start our story. Questions to ask when we read. So the first question we can ask ourselves is, what is the story mostly about? Is it a friend, a game, an animal, a job, an adventure? What is the purpose of the story? What is the main idea? The next question we can ask ourselves is it fiction or nonfiction? Fiction means fake or pretend, and nonfiction means it's real life stuff. So we got to ask ourselves, is this just a pretend story? Are the animals talking? Is it just made up? Or is it about a real person or event in history? Is it fiction, fake, or nonfiction, real? Next, we can ask ourselves, who is telling the story? Is an animal telling the story? Is a person telling the story? Who's telling us the story? Is it just the author of the book? Who is the character? Think about who the story is mostly about. It could be a person, it could be a robot, it could be an animal. So think in your head, who is this story about? And with that comes the setting. Where is the setting? Where's the story happening? Are you in a playground? Are you on the beach? Where is the story taking place? Can you retell the story? Can you tell us what happens first, then, next, and last? Retelling the story helps us to comprehend what the story is all about. What type of text is it? Are you reading a book? Are you online? Are you reading a magazine? Are you reading an article? What type of text is it? And last, why are you reading it? Are you reading the book just to enjoy it? Or are you reading it to learn some information that you need? So while I'm reading this book today, Curious George, Dinosaur Discovery, I want you to think of these questions, and I'm going to ask them to you at the end of the story. Curious George, Dinosaur Discovery. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. George loved to go places with his friend, the man in the yellow hat. One of their favorite places to visit was the Dinosaur Museum. So in this first page, we learned two of our questions. We learned who is the character and where is the setting. The characters are Curious George and the man in the yellow hat. The setting is the Dinosaur Museum. Let's keep reading to answer some more questions. Today is a special day. George's friend said, "We are going to do something very interesting." George was curious. What could be more interesting than a trip to the Dinosaur Museum? The man with the yellow hat led the way through the museum. George wanted to stop and look at the dinosaur bones, but his friend kept going. So George kept following. Finally, they walked right out the back door. Where are they going? George and the man in the yellow hat climbed into a van and rode a rocky quarry. Dozens of people were there. Some were digging with shovels and others using pickaxes and other kinds of tools. What do you think they're digging up? Dinosaur Museum. Where did the dinosaurs come from? Let's find out. Surprise! George's friend said. we'll be helping the museum scientists dig for dinosaur bones. George was curious. Were there really dinosaurs buried in the quarry? He ran over for a better look. George watched the scientist work. She dug up some of the dirt and put it in a sifting pan. It took a long time to sift it. And in the end, no dinosaur bones. Oh well, she said. Time to try again. So she put the dirt in this sifting pan and you shake it up and the dirt falls out, but the bones will stay in the pan. But the next pan was empty too. So was the next one and the one after that. George yawned. So far, digging for dinosaur bones was not as exciting as he expected. George was curious. How could he help find the dinosaur bones? He found a spare shovel lying nearby. He dug and he dug, but he didn't find any dinosaurs. When he climbed out of his hole, George spotted another scientist. He was dusting something with a small brush. Oh well, the scientist said, this is not a bone, just a rock. George wanted to help. He picked up a brush and went to work. But it turns out that monkeys are not very good at dusting. Silly George. As he hurried away from the cloud of dust, George bumped into a wheelbarrow. Maybe there were dinosaur bones in it. He climbed up and looked inside, but the wheelbarrow was awfully tippy. Uh-oh. Crash! George, the wheelbarrow, and a whole lot of dirt went flying. Hey, someone cried. What's that monkey doing? George scampered away straight up the cliff. Monkeys are good at climbing, so George kept going. Higher and higher. George could hardly believe what he saw. Dinosaur bones. After that, the dinosaur dig was even more fun. George helped the scientists dig and sift and dust and take photos of the bones he found. Wow, look at that bone he found. That's a big guy right there. And the next time he and the man with the yellow hat visited the dinosaur museum, George got to see his dinosaur on display. The end. So I want you to take a look at our questions and answer some of them. What was the story mostly about? Who was the character? Where was the setting? Can you retell the story? What happened first? What happened next? Then what happened? What happened last? Could you tell us who is telling the story? And are you reading this book to learn something, or is it just for fun? Is it fiction or nonfiction? So think about your answers and write about them. Have a great day.